committee now.
Okay. Well, park. Right after that park there. Right after. Yeah, or that one. That's I can do.
Oh, I couldn't tell. Yeah. B.
Okay, we're gonna change.
B.
Okay.
Okay.
Recording in progress. Okay, everyone, we're going to go ahead and get our meeting started. It is 6:35 on Tuesday, May 7th. I'd like to call this meeting of the Woodstock Village Board of Trustees to order. The first item on our agenda is citizen comments. Are there any citizen comments that are not to do with anything else on the agenda? Yes. Please come up and tell us your name and where y'all live.
Hi, I'm April Polly. My husband, Ben Polly, Marigold and Gray, our other child. We are Farmer in the Bell. We were a pop-up in Woodstock a couple years ago. We sold made donuts and drip coffee. And we were in Queechee for about a year and have been in earnest trying to look for a place to call home in Woodstock. We started with donuts and drip, and we would like to expand to breakfast and lunch as well. And we have found our absolute dream location in Woodstock to hopefully call home.
And we actually have a application meeting tomorrow with the Village Development, and our location is at 67 Pleasant Street. And unfortunately, last night learned that there's very strong opposition from neighboring Maplefields, and received a 5-page letter from their lawyer with about a dozen plus reasons why they didn't want the application to go forward. Unfortunately, it kind of read very much that they just didn't want the project to go forward, and were kind of throwing everything at us that they could think of. And one of the issues is parking. And we are asking for a reduction in the parking requirements because the site doesn't allow enough space. We've maximized the parking on the site, and we have 16 spots, and we're asking for a waiver to allow us to have 96 seats. We normally need 32 seats or 32 parking spots to fit that. And we're also requiring our employees to park off site. And so one of the arguments we are making, because in the zoning regulations, it says if you can prove that it's a extraordinary circumstance and parking can be provided elsewhere, they can grant a waiver. And so we made an argument that parking was available in the East End Park. Unfortunately, the letter stated that parking in the East End was not applicable because the parking ride is viewed as a parking ride and not for public use, and that the East End Park parking is meant for people who go to the park and not for multi-use. And so we are asking for support. We reached out to the EDC, Sustainable Woodstock, Friends of East End Park, just to kind of get some clarification on what the view of parking is in the East End and what that East End parking is meant to service. We definitely view walkability as a very important part of the East End and the village. We view multi-use parking as more beneficial to the town than private single-use parking on lot. And so we're just asking the trustees for any support they can offer. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So the meeting is tomorrow.
Okay.
I talked to Plan Zone. They're not sure if there'll be a vote tomorrow or in 2 weeks. So if the trustees want to do anything, they could send a letter to the planning commission, planning board tomorrow, stating that they view East End Park as public parking. So that's kind of, I think right now, the scope of what the trustees could do if they wanted to support anything.
And I'll just say we appreciate you taking up the topic of public parking later on in your meeting as well. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
I have a
trustees-
question.
Yeah,
Where exactly is 67 Pleasant?
It is on the corner across from both of the maple fields where the old was it
Gas station.
gas station? It was a white building right in the corner.
one in the corner.
Okay.
Started
So something's going to be
excavating.
built there and that's where you're going to be?
Yep, yeah, we are
Okay.
the tenants and then there's the property owners developing the site.
Okay. And when is the expectation that that will be completed?
Early next year.
Yeah, really.
Okay. Okay.
And it's being designed and built by Geo Barnes.
Do you guys have any questions or comments?
Comment? I'd make a comment that when Eastern Park was created, we never limited the parking, the public parking there solely to people who wanted to go to the park. So I think that it's public parking, so.
I agree. I mean, businesses like that coffee company use that parking there. People go to the where used to be the suds and whatever, the washing. I've seen people get their hair cut down there. They also use it. I consider
Yeah, and I would agree. It's a space that I think when we have conversations about, especially big events going on, and I think Beth can probably speak to this too, like when we've got like a wassail or something big, we're like, let's see if we can get people to go down to East End Park so that they can come down. And certainly a lot of our businesses, including two people on the trustees, don't have designated parking lots. They are reliant on their customers parking in municipal properties, whether that's free, or anything else. So I think it's completely reasonable that parking that is not on site is where some of your customers would park. So I agree that I think that, I mean, I would be comfortable putting our name on something that says that the point of East End Park parking is for everyone for multiple reasons.
So it's just, the next agenda item is additions, deletions, so you could add a discussion about this or a vote if you want to.
Okay.
Thank you very
Okay,
much.
thank you guys.
We appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Are there any other citizen comments? Oh, yeah, come on up.
I'm Roger Logan. I wasn't gonna say anything tonight, but the last presentation just outraged me once again about certain, I mean, on this specific item, I urge you to do whatever you can to address what seems to me a legalistic unfairness. And one of the things that's increasingly concerning me in a more general sense is the extent to which people just say no to anything and start dragging it through either the courts or the governmental processes. And I think we need to find a way of addressing that in a way that allows us to go forward. I mean, we have entrepreneurs who are trying to do something, a very fine wooden spoon. And we need food, you know, and we need a nice cafe to go sit in. Another, you know, not that we don't have two great cafes to go sit in, but we could always use another one. And the idea that the East End Park is not public parking is, well, I can't actually say it in a public meeting, but it's a ridiculous legal argle. So I urge you to both address this issue to the extent that you can, and then let's be planning for ways that we can go forward with progressive things in this town without always having somebody find a way to put the brakes on it. Thanks.
Are there any other citizen comments about items that are not on the agenda? Okay. Well, now we're gonna move on to additions and deletions from the posted agenda. So
I have a few.
West will do the,
So East End parking discussion,
okay,
what just got brought up. The Chamber of Commerce, Wausau
yes.
permits, that one, we have a village designation, we need to talk about. And I'd also like to request executive session as well at the end of the meeting.
Did you say village nation?
Village designation.
Okay, where do you want to put those in the agenda?
Uh,
So we've got two votes.
Uh,
Are all three of these votes?
About other business.
yes,
Put them in.
on other business, yeah.
Okay, so we'll move all three of these down to other business. I would, if it pleases the rest of the trustees, put the wassail permit into the permit section because it was my error for forgetting to put it on the agenda. And it is a permit that we talked about last month and we decided to table it until this month. So I think it would be appropriate to put it under permits.
That's fine.
If that's okay. And then we'll put the two others under other business. And where do you want to put the executive session?
Do at the end, before minutes.
Okay, so after other business with
Yeah.
4 minutes. Then let's move on to the manager's report. Eric?
So a few things. One, the village audit came back, I believe about 2 weeks ago. All the trustees should have a copy of it. We have copies of it in our office if anyone from the public wants to look at it. We now just coordinated a time to get the auditor to come in for a joint meeting between the town and the village to review both the town and village audit at the same time. So we're working on that. We're hoping for early June to have that meeting. Next, I think all the trustees were here, but the select board just held a public forum with the Woodstock Aqueduct Company over their continued progress into acquiring it. So the select board will also talk about this at the meeting on the 21st. And I encourage all residents to provide feedback on how they feel about that as we go down the line. Next, in a few weeks, Memorial Weekend, we'll start our summer hours as we typically do at Town Hall. So Town Hall will be closed at 12 on Fridays up and through Labor Day. That puts us in line with the clerk and the listers who also close at 12 on Fridays. So we happened it last year. I think we had 2 residents come in after 12 when I was able to help out with both of them. And it's a kind of nice benefit for the staff. I enjoy some nice weather on Fridays. I will be on vacation starting at the end of this meeting. Trustees got my memo. The trustees got my memo. The Chief Green has municipal power. If anything needs to be signed or talked about while I'm gone, he has the ability to sign things. So it'll be helpful. And then finally, it's my sad duty to announce that Mark Hunter gave his 2-week notice to me yesterday. He's a director of public works. He's been with us for about 1.5 years. Talking to him, it's mostly a personal and family issue that he's looking for being close to his family in New Hampshire. But I will also say, not to speak for him, I think it also concerns the burnout. I think we're seeing a lot with our employees. A lot is asked of us as a small staff. You know, they can be out for 7 days working and then plowing and then coming in doing snow removal from the village with the flood, with just the kind of the constant work in today's world where everyone has a cell phone and email and a call. If you've ever been with Mark Hunter for more than 20 minutes, both his phones never stop ringing. So I think we are trying to work internally on better ways to give employees some life balance. But I think we also need the support of the community as well and understanding of tiers of what's an emergency, what's not emergency, what can wait, what cannot wait, to make sure our staff has time to unwind and kind of relax sometimes. But with that said, I want to thank Mark for his work over 1.5 years, especially during the flood. I think Woodstock was one of the first areas to have all the roads cleared as soon as possible, and that's up to him and his crew who did all that work. And also dealing with FEMA as I have been for 9 months, the meticulous notes that Mark took in the pictures have really helped me submit that paperwork to FEMA. So I want to thank him for that as well, and I'm going to miss him. If there are no comments on that, we can look at the financial report. Revenue continues to be higher than we budgeted for. Expenses continue to be a little bit lower overall. So as we go into the last 6 weeks of the fiscal year. I feel like the village is in a pretty good shape financially, but willing to answer any questions the trustees have.
I've got a couple, that remind me perhaps, under office administration, executive. Why didn't we have a budget for IT? And how does that also relate to communications, both of
What line are
which?
you on?
Well, 501,
So-
504,
Yeah, page 6,
And,
yep, IT Village.
yeah, 502, communications, and, which is up way over budget. Just,
So I'll have to look into communications more, but I said this at the last budget hearing for that FY25 budget. Woodstock has never budgeted for any IT services ever. They've never had any budget for IT. It came out of whatever line was necessary. When we signed the contract with Hanover, Town Hanover to work with us, I inputted a IT budget line to kind of track those expenses. Next year, IT services are budgeted for, so there will be a budget next to them. But it's a cost that the town and the village have had to eat without being budgeted for, since I think at least 2019 was the research I did when I went back. So that's why it's there.
okay, and communications maybe back.
Yeah, I have to look into that.
uh,
And so I just want to make sure you're talking about right communication. So under office administration?
Yeah.
Okay,
The only other question I've got, really, are for the chief, and I keep asking the question, but I never see the catch up. Every single month, we're told that parking meter revenue is up over the previous year, and yet we still, in here, show it's lagging over budget. I don't understand when the catch up is gonna happen.
so if you, I mean, well, like a credit card permanent parking is already over budget. That's part of the permanent parking, so,
But we're seeing breakout of parking meters.
yeah, and the parking meters, some of them are too, is we don't have them in till we reconcile the month, so we are a few months behind. So, because those are a lot of the actual meters themselves, like coin meters that get taken out by the police. They bring in, they get deposited at the bank by them. They then send the slips over to us, and then we don't reconcile them till we reconcile the month. So that's why that line's always behind.
Like by 3 months.
I don't know if it's 3 months, but I think it's probably 2 months at this point.
Well, that explained it, thank you.
But just for reference, I mean, that line is about 130,000, and we're about at 135,000 on those two lines. So I mean, we will be well over budget on parking meter.
No,
Then-
that's not the parking meter line that I was,
What line are you looking at?
so I got to find it.
But he's talking about 24062, and I'm saying if you take that one and combine the credit card permanent parking,
Oh, that was without combining it, because we were given separate,
yeah,
each month. Parking meter is significantly higher for the year, even was every single month as a separate line.
Yep.
So that's the one I was talking about.
Okay.
Okay, those are my only two questions.
Trustees, do you have any other questions about finances? Frank?
No.
Eric, there's somebody that's trying to get in.
yeah.
Okay. Next item on our agenda is the police chief's report.
Evening, everyone.
Hey, Joe.
Hello.
I do.
So in the month of April, last month, we responded to a total of 273 calls for service. The top two call types of that were direct patrols and traffic stops. We had 4 minor motor vehicle crashes, no injury crashes last month. I sent along the meter report by email. I don't know if that was just this morning. I don't know if it made it to you yet. Okay. Kiosks were 1,660 and 85 cents. Meters were $3,037.70. Park Mobile is 3,867 and 75 cents. For total of 8,566 and 30 cents. April of 23 was 8,514. And then April of 22 was 8,011, so real close to last year, and then like those both of those years were 500 over 2022. I was talking with Robert in one of the meetings, Robert Dunsmore, about combining some of those line items that you and Eric were asking him, or you were asking Eric about. So that might in the future make things more efficient. But that's just something that we're working on. Coming up, we're gearing up for the Memorial Day Parade, the Covered Bridges Half Marathon, and the inaugural Pride Festival coming up at the end of the month. I'll also be attending the annual Vermont Chiefs and Sheriffs Conference, which will be at Killington, May 28th, 29th, and 30th. On May 31st, Officer Turk will be graduating from the 117th Basic Vermont Police Academy class, so I'll be attending as well as some other officers and staff as scheduling allows. Is there any questions?
I just want to ask the question just for the public record. So can you tell us, we had some visitors to town last week,
Yeah.
cars. Can you tell us about the process of the police's involvement with them?
Yeah, so on occasion, a couple times a year, the various groups will ask for assistance with getting into traffic and staying with our group. Sometimes they start at Woodstock, sometimes they're just coming through. So there's nothing out of the ordinary with that, but what we'll do is set up an intersection and allow a group of cars or motorcycles, whatever it is, to pass through without other traffic getting intermixed. In this case, it was a group out of Boston that was starting at the Woodstock Inn and doing a 4 or 5, 6-day tour down, ultimately ending in Tennessee.
Okay. So when that group was in the village, there were officers with them at all times?
Yes,
Okay. How many officers were there? 2?
there was 2 of us on duty.
Okay. And did they pay you privately or they?
Yeah, they paid,
Okay. So it was all paid for privately, contracted privately.
correct.
Any other questions? Yeah. Can you come up and tell us who you are?
Yeah, I'm Deb Green. I live on River and I heard it, but I didn't see it. And I do walk early with my dog, so there's 2 requests. One is, I think it would be fun for people to know about, so we can come out early and watch it. And 2, that the people where the road, where it comes down the road, that we're aware of it, so that, you know, I'm not crossing the street with my dog at 6 a.m. and they're going by me.
Okay, yeah, I can try to
Yeah.
put stuff on our Facebook page in the future.
Thanks.
Absolutely.
Thanks. Okay, let's move on to our next item on the agenda is permits. The first is an event permit from St. James. Amy, oh, there's you. Come on up, tell us who you are and where you live.
Amy Spagna. I am the priest at St. James Church. I live right across the street, next door to the church, on Church Street. The permit is for the annual church fair, which we have held more or less continuously since the late 1920s. The date, I know there was kind of a challenge with the date because our internal scheduling, we set a date before we were fully aware that there were other things going on August 24th. We did not want to overlap that simply because of overlap in volunteer bases and parking being an absolute nightmare, potentially. We didn't want to cause that stress to the town for that. So the permit is for the August 17th. I believe Nikki was told about that, or Shari White had called Nikki either yesterday or this morning to tell us August 17th, but the hours are still the same.
What kind of day is that?
For that, it's a Saturday.
Thank you. And so this is just to close St. James.
James, correct. Which is, if you're not familiar with it, it's just this bit of road that's between the church and the St. James Green proper. That's to help us, obviously with traffic control, but also to give us leeway to move things out of the building onto the green and back.
The Green, which, fun fact, is owned by the
It
church.
is, it is, that's true. It's
But
it's
across
very
the street,
true,
owned by the church. It is not.
very true.
And have you talked to the police about getting the road closed off or?
We have not yet, but my understanding, Shari had been the one to handle these permits before, and I'm here because she's in South Carolina. But my understanding is that that is more or less dependent on you all giving permission first, and then we'll make sure we consult with Site PD. Yeah, and we are grateful for your support, in that, certainly, we did have an officer out last year, who was willing, and she was fabulous. It was really, really helpful, so we are grateful.
Trustees, do you have any questions?
No.
We're gonna have food?
Yes, that's the hope. That's the hope, at least that's the plan,
You haven't passed.
yeah, that's true.
It's always a great event.
Yeah, and we are glad to be able to do it and to give back to the community, because all of the proceeds that we make, most of them get plowed back into the town, but it's our outreach budget, basically.
That's great.
Frank, did you have any questions?
No, thanks.
Are there any comments from the public on this permit? Okay, in that case, I would make a motion to approve the permit for the St. James Fair on Saturday, August 17th. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank
Thank you.
you, Evan. Next item is a driveway permit from Woodstock Builders. Who's here to speak on that? Come on up. And can you give us your name and tell us where you live?
George Helmer. I live in South Barnard now. A property on Mountain Avenue, and I'd like a driveway permit so I can get a driveway at the north end of the property.
I'm having a little trouble understanding that which house exactly is
35 Mountain Avenue.
Which house?
It's a double house on the corner, just beyond the corner.
The White House?
Most of them are, but
Yeah,
yes.
but I mean, it's after the modern
Can you
house.
bring up the,
It's
Eric,
after the
Modern house,
next door to that, west of that. Yes.
Eric's
Okay.
is gonna bring it up.
yeah.
This
I just wanted, the map didn't make,
Yes.
to see where the.
This house?
Okay, there we go.
yeah, now I know where, yeah.
Yeah,
right
see,
next to
there's
the
a
modern house.
driveway there right now, but it goes straight into a garage.
Okay,
So what I want to do is put a driveway to the right of that, along the property line that goes up to the north end of the property.
so then it's a double driveway or you're gonna grass in that?
A second driveway, and someday that might become the driveway for both if someone tore that garage down.
Okay. Okay. And Eric, what's the process? So this is,
Been through Mark Hunter.
Okay.
But his job is just to make sure there's no issues with it being existing, not, aesthetics or anything else.
okay,
But I don't believe it's been through any of the design review boards yet.
Well, I taught, it's not necessary for what
Okay.
I'm doing. There are no design review board
Okay,
requirements for anything I'm doing. I've talked to the zoning administrator several times, just to make sure that that's true.
okay. How wide is it gonna be?
Normal driveway, 14 feet with shoulders, plus shoulders.
So it goes, I'm just trying to make, all right.
So are you basically just trying to widen the driveway?
No, no, it's another driveway to the right of that driveway that will go past that garage.
so kind of where this bush is.
No, that's not my driveway. The driveway that I own is the,
So on the other end of the house, on the other
Okay, so the
side?
White House is yours.
yes,
Yes. So there's a driveway next to your house.
yes,
And you're going to put a second driveway
yes,
next to the first driveway.
correct.
That is going to go to,
It's going to go to the north end of the lot. It's a very long lot
okay,
uphill, and there's more space up there, so I want to get up there.
okay. So, and there's nothing back there right now. Okay, so it'll be a driveway to the woods.
For the time being.
Okay,
Your plans to build up there? Is that the point of the driveway?
Build, no, Not yet. No.
You just want to drive up it.
Into the woods. No, there are no woods. There's nothing there. I mean, we
Yeah,
cleared it.
Yeah, it's tough to see from that.
All right.
Can you do an overview?
Want the best that,
Do you want my 10-year-old to do it for you?
yeah, maybe. I wasn't prepared to be on Google Maps.
I think you can just hit the map on the left, that little one in the corner. Does that expand?
No, you have to close the street view first.
Oh.
Click on the X on the upper right hand corner.
Oh.
And now what?
And now, that. You should be able to switch it to satellite. That's what you want.
Yes. Ready for vacation.
Yeah, where's,
That you should be able to zoom in and you should be able to see the lot lines.
Oh, okay, yeah. Where you were on the other map.
From an aerial map.
You definitely need to plug it all in.
I know. Layers?
Oh, there you go.
So right here?
Yes.
So, yes.
And so how far back will it go to where those trees are?
For the time being, probably 300 feet or something. There's over 400, that lot is over 400 feet deep.
Okay,
It's a long skinny lot. It goes up and then tables out in the back.
so it goes into where at least from here, we can see trees.
Well, they aren't there anymore, but yeah.
Oh, okay, they're not there.
Right.
Okay,
Are you going around the garage?
I hope so.
Okay, well, yeah, duh. That's the side you're going on.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
okay, and plan is to put it right up against the property line?
To the left of the property line, west of the property line. The property line is 23 feet from the corner of that garage.
Okay.
23 feet east of that garage is the property.
Okay, and are there any easement concerns about, I don't know about property stuff.
I mean, we'll have to check the deeds if there's any easement, but,
Okay,
we'll look into it.
yeah, I'm just not comfortable making a decision because I don't know if there's rules about.
I mean, I'll check with plan and zoning. My assumption is if he went to plan and zoning, the plan and zoning would have looked up if there's any
Okay.
easements or not before they approved it, but I can double check with them.
This is approved by planning.
What's that?
This is already approved by planning.
No,
No,
it doesn't. apparently
And
need to
they
go.
told me that it's always been an administrative permit, this, in all the years that I've been, before I stopped doing things like that most. And, but the village trustees taken over those permits for the village.
My only confusion is, because we've done. Agree with you, we've done curb cuts and.
There's no curb, so, you know,
I know that, it's just. Why are you putting a driveway to nowhere?
well, it's not to nowhere, it's to the back half of the property.
You wanna drive your car back.
Yeah, or a truck or whatever, but you can't get to the back half of the property now
Without
without driving up the lawn. You know, so if anything was to be done there, have to have a driveway.
So is there potential going forward that something will go on there, such as a building or?
Maybe, that's not something I'm planning to do for the time being, but it can't be done until there's a driveway.
Do you plan on subdividing?
I would like to subdivide the property and there's more than enough space to do that.
Okay, now it's making sense.
Yeah.
But that's not about driveway. It's a subdivision. And I've talked to the zoning administrator.
I'm sorry, can you speak
What?
up just a little?
That's not about driveways, that's about subdivision, and I've talked to the zoning administrator several times about that,
Okay,
you know. He thinks it's an ideal situation, his words.
okay. Are there, do you have any other questions?
I don't.
Okay, are there any citizen comments?
Yeah.
Okay, can you come up, please, and give us your name and tell us where you live? Can you give her the podium?
Oh, sorry.
Okay,
I'm Lisa Carbon. My parents are Jim and Margaret Bradley, and the house is a duplex.
okay,
George has 35, my parents own 37, which is the other half of the house. During the winter, there was a survey done of the property, which is on record, which you downloaded it, correct? From, this is the survey. Oh, it isn't filed in the town? Okay. Okay, well, this shows this shows the intention of the project. And there's a subdivision boundary that he would like to make, as I understand it, between town and
let
the
her speak.
village. My turn. And there's also a house lot back there that has been, if you'd like to see it?
Yes, please. Oh, yeah, this is the map that he gave us.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
So it does kind of mark out the intent of having a house there, as I understand it. Which has been his
I don't-
intention for many years.
Yeah, so here it says subdivision boundary.
No, subdivision between town and
Oh, okay. Oh, okay, okay. So that's a so,
That's the town village boundary.
yes, that's,
Okay. But you can see where there is a house lot that's in the where, up at the top. So I think the intent is to eventually build there.
Okay.
are you seeing that?
No, not exactly.
So this is the boundary between the village and the town, so that's what the
Okay.
subdivision. Do you know if that's what this line is? I don't,
I'd have to
Oh.
confirm, I don't know.
I'm not entirely sure if it's relevant for this permit.
It's not, if the driveway's not gonna go into town property, then it wouldn't be.
Oh, well, so the driveway goes, hold on. So then this is the subdivision boundary.
Yeah, I see it now. There's the
This is,
house.
Yeah.
They own half of the house.
It was like it stops before the subdivision.
So that means they've got a subdivision.
Georgie, can you,
I don't
no, I don't, No.
is the driveway gonna go all the way up to the subdivision line or stop before it?
it goes wherever, but it doesn't matter.
well,
If
if
it
it goes
goes,
into the town, then the town has jurisdiction over the town. We only have jurisdiction over the village.
Okay, well, then let's just go in the village, but the map that you were looking at.
Yes,
that-
she gave us,
Yeah, that's that's a first draft by the surveyor, and I've asked him to correct a bunch of mistakes, one of which is that one. He
One is
said-
which,
Well, one of the mistakes, he had subdivision written. in. Well, it was a subdivision between the town and the village, but it's
Okay.
not a subdivision by me or a proposed subdivision by me.
This is where they.
So
Yes.
that's just a mistake. And he has the wrong zoning designations on there as well.
okay,
There's several mistakes. That's just an interim one. It's not. The surveyor hasn't completed.
okay,
When he does, then or they do, then I can apply for a subdivision permit, which I'll do.
okay. I feel like I don't have enough information. I feel like I need to talk to Stephen about this because I've got questions that I don't have answers to. And I also feel like if this is incorrect information, I'd like to be able to see correct information before we make a decision.
Okay, I don't,
On it. Well, you said there are a number of errors in this, so if this is,
Not as concerns the driveway, there are no errors.
okay, I
Their
think,
driveway, there are errors in that as concerns a future subdivision application, which is not for you, but there are errors for that.
okay,
But for the driveway, we just want to come in off the street and that's kind of,
I understand that. I think,
just put it past, it just goes past the garage and that is in the village.
yes, my concern is that, so without speaking on behalf of the trustees, but I don't know if you guys agree with me, but I would like to take a holistic approach to the permit. So if if there's things that are incorrect in here, no matter what side they're on, I think it's helpful for us to have all of the relevant information. Some of that, I think we need to get from the planning and zoning office. Some of that might be, I think, a correct map, even if it's
I think that map is correct. I could have driven it. I could have drawn that map by hand and it would be correct.
I think, but you said that there were some errors in here. And so whether those errors
Not
are,
as to your purposes, no.
okay, well, our purpose is to take a holistic approach of the entire thing.
Come on, okay.
So I want to make sure that we have all of the right information, but trustees, you tell me if you have a different opinion. I'm happy to yield to the majority here.
Well, it's Mr. Helmer's property and, as far as the part of it that lies within the village, I don't have any problem.
Okay. Lisa?
Brenda,
I like Mr. Helmer. I think he's a wonderful person. But I think until we have all the information, I think that we should pause.
Just to hold your question back to you, Wendy. Lisa, do you have,
I agree with that.
okay. And Frank, do you have any comments?
I think
or-
I think we should pause too.
Okay,
It's a very confusing proposal. You know, you said you're not going to subdivide, but it sounds like you're going to
No, I did not
subdivide.
say that. I didn't say
It-
that.
So
Well,
I
yeah,
think that
so
we
I
need
want-
more information.
I didn't say I wasn't going to subdivide. I didn't say that.
okay,
He said he's not doing it yet.
yes. Okay, so trustees, what questions do we want to have answered? Because I think what makes the most sense is if we've got questions, we need to get them down and that we can get
I
the
need
answers.
clear, I'm not good with reading maps like this. I
Okay.
think I would like to see a visual of how the driveway is going to go and how far the driveway is going to go into the property, whether it does go on just village property or on town property. I just think I feel like I don't have clear directions here.
Well, it probably will be on town property as well. But does that matter to you?
I believe it does.
Really? Okay.
We don't have the right to give you
Yeah.
permission to go onto the town park.
Yeah.
So that's the
Yeah,
problem.
that's,
Yeah, so once again, we need clear directions as to what your intent is.
Okay, I don't understand that at all. But
and I don't know that I need intent, but I do want to find out from the planning and zoning office about if there are any sort of easements that are required, if there's any setbacks that are required, because it is going close to the property line and because it is crossing the village to the town. I don't know if there are additional rules. I don't know the answer to that. So,
you know, the-
and that's on me.
okay,
But I want to get that clarification from the planning and zoning office.
I've gotten that, there are none, but nonetheless, maybe I should apply for our subdivision permit and the driveway permit simultaneously, since you seem to be concerned with that. It doesn't matter to me. That's,
Well, the subdivision, that's a whole, that's not us, but
well, this is all you're talking about is subdivision permit.
I'm concerned about the accuracy of the map and making sure that we know all the correct rules and regulations before we make a decision. What questions do you have, Lisa?
It's the same. I
Okay.
just want to make sure if it's close between the village and town, that
Well,
we have
Can
enough.
I leave that in your court to talk?
Absolutely.
Power
So
them?
I think what we can do is, what I would like to do is we'll put these questions together. We'll go back to planning and zoning. We can table this until our next meeting.
When is that?
Our next plan meeting is June
Second Tuesday of June.
2nd.
Okay, yeah, all right, it's. Okay, well, it's just, the lot is drying out, it's a good time. soon to put in the driveway. I can wait till June.
Okay. Thank you.
We're tabling it until June 11th. Did you have?
Yeah.
Yeah, are there public comment on this? Please come up. Give us your name and tell us where you live.
My name, Marinan. I live in the village. I'm actually 39 Mountain Avenue. I have not had the pleasure of meeting you, sir. I believe we met one out front. So I'm 39, which is not abutting, but I also own the property behind the lot. So I'm in a butter in the north, as George described, Mr. Helmer, the north end of the property. Where you see a stone wall, drawn little circular. And so from the standpoint of corrections, I appreciate you bringing that up. This may be the surveyor, but I'm listed with the wrong last name on the map.
Oh.
My correct name is below with parcel 2151134. So I don't know, I have a lot of trouble with Marinan and spelling. So, and pronunciation. So I don't know who that goes to. Does that go to Holt surveyors? Anyway, that correction should be made. So there's no confusion in a document. I've seen that happen and that creates more problems. So that's one correction. The other question / correction, when I read over the permit, I was confused because in the handwritten description, new driveway to enter Mountain Avenue, approximately 3.5 feet, or W, west of southwest corner, but I believe it's the southeast corner. So that's just an incorrect. I have this thing about detailing. So anyway, I just wanted that clarified on the paperwork because it's a document in your, and then as far as comments go and a question, I also believe that a driveway to nowhere is a curious thing. I think so I'm glad that the rest of the story is a potential subdivision, which I do think is the intent, which he said is, because the setbacks, the new rules with the setbacks are drawn on the paperwork. So one concern I have is down on Mountain Avenue, 2 driveways creates a double wide driveway. In other words, the 2 side by side.
Separation.
So that's not in the drawing. Well, that isn't, anyway, my concern, thank you for, my concern would be that the 2 driveways be delineated as 2 driveways, as opposed to an open paved frontage, creating traffic confusion or turnarounds for people who, a lot of people turn around on Mountain Avenue because they want to go the other way.
Okay, did you have another?
So that's one of my concerns. And then the double wide question. The other thing is I was reading in the planning and zoning as to what is the role of the village trustees and this permitting process. And there are guidelines that and so this is what I think I did. I think I found the answer, but I want to raise the concern that slope is a factor in permitting the driveway and how it's built. And my question for clarification is this, and I also read where a driveway is ideally following the contours. So my clarification question is, if you do the slope, you might in sections get more than 10%. 10% is the recommended permitted. Steeper is not ideal, but there's a section that's steeper. So my question is it an average slope?
Yeah.
Because it's not written that way in the zoning consistently.
Yeah. No.
So that's a question in the permit.
20 feet off the street. So. And then after that, it has to be an average.
There's a section that's 14%, if I did my math correctly on this. But if it's an average, I think it's fine. But the point of clarification is in our zoning, it's not specified consistently.
Okay,
So,
we'll add that to our questions for planning and zoning.
great.
Okay.
And then, the other concern I have that's really just putting it out there, but our back boundary is very wet. And I'm not sure if, and this is really not your purview, I'm putting it out in public statement though, if Conservation Commission should look at it for development.
Okay, so I would bring that up to planning and.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
is there any other public comment on this item before we move on? Okay, so I think we've decided we're gonna table this until June 11th. We'll take these questions to planning and zoning. If you get an updated map, if you could share it with us, an updated survey, please share it with us. And if there's any other info between now and then, please feel free to share it with us. And we will revisit this on the 11th.
Yeah, I think it's clear to me that that's when you apply for subdivision. And with it,
Well, that's a totally different process.
you don't answer all the questions. And it will, you know, be the whole picture.
Yeah.
I think.
Okay. Okay,
you.
thank you. Okay, our next item on the agenda is a,
You just take your laptop, it's on dark,
oh. Shake it
you know,
up. Better. Oh, wait, did it turn off?
might have, you're not on Zoom anymore.
Oh, there we go. Okay. Well, as I'm doing this, next
Yeah.
item on the agenda is the permit request from TEDx. Come on up as I turn this back on. Tell us who you are and where you live
Oh,
and
I am
what's up.
Deb Green.
Hold on one second.
Yes.
I just got a text. Frank can't hear.
Oh, okay. Frank, can you hear us now?
It was the people speaking in the background
Oh.
regarding the last subject.
Okay, got it. We'll fill you in, Frank. Okay, there we go. Okay,
Okay.
go ahead.
All right, I'm Deborah Green, and I'm in Woodstock, and I'm the director of the TEDx Heartland Hill. We are going into our third year. Hopefully, we will be TEDx Woodstock soon, but we're working on it. And this year, please become involved. It's on awe, and it's September 14th. And this fall, we will need some awe. So it's going to be just a day of looking at the world and finding beautiful things. So that's what's happening at Billings Farm on September 14th. So I wanted to get a permit to put up the banners like I did the first year on either side of the green. And if we could, I'd love it to be up the weekend before so that people know about it. And if it could be up during the actual weekend that it happens, that would be super cool as well, because we'll be doing some things on September 15th that's just open to the public. And so for people to know about it, that would be great.
Okay. Is Nikki on?
She's not, no.
No. Okay. Do you know? We don't have that weekend.
As far as I know, for banners, no.
Okay. And banners on both ends?
Generally.
So that's,
Generally, we allow banners to be up for 1 week.
Okay.
Right. So this would be, that's the question. If I do 7 to 14, then
well, and usually they go up on a because there's not necessarily somebody to put them up on the weekend.
Exactly.
So it needs to be a weekday that it goes up and comes down.
right, that's why I wanted to do Friday, because it would serve me better to have it up on a weekend beforehand, because that would have more traffic.
Oh.
Then, during the week, it would be more just locals, and I would love for it to have greater impact if it's the weekend before. So I think I'm asking for a 2-day extension on that 7 days.
And the event is on the 14th.
Beth, do you have a comment or the dates, or just a comment in general?
Well, I support
TEDx, the 7th and 8th is the art festival, and the banner will be up to that following month for the Woodstock Art Festival.
So it's up, when is the art festival one up? We already approved that permit.
Right.
When is that permit up? Thank you.
I think it's the 7th and 8th.
So it goes up on the 6th?
Goes up that Monday.
Before.
The second.
It'll go up, actually September 3rd, because Monday's a holiday.
Oh, okay.
And then come down on the 9th.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So yours could go up on the 9th,
Yeah.
run through the 15th.
Sure.
Yeah.
Is it possible for any kind of presence on the green on the week before?
Not bad.
Not bad, yeah, I see that. But if we,
And the,
okay, find some way to be present in town the weekend before.
I'm sure you talk about table. Okay, so then we're gonna amend it for
9th
9th through the
15th or
9th through 16th,
16th is a Monday, yes. 9th
Yeah.
through 16th.
Okay.
9 through 16. Thank you, Beth, for letting us know about that. Gary, thank you.
Okay.
So I move accept the banner for 9th, for TEDx 9th and 16th of September.
I second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Deb.
Thank you all.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the Wassail permit. Gonna come back up. So as a refresher, and for those the Beth brought us a permit from the Wassail Committee about using the bridge during Wassail, the covered bridge during Wassail, to have a market. The trustees had a lot of questions, so we some of them about safety, some about logistics.
Right.
So we asked Beth and the Wassail Committee to go talk to the relevant people and come back to us. So we tabled it last month. So this is a
Follow-up.
follow-up from last month. So that's why we're talking about it today.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you. So, I had requested the use of the middle bridge for Friday from noon until 7 for for the artisans market, and Saturday, the day, of Wassel. And your questions involved, Chief Swanson, Chief Green, and Mark Hunter. And I've spoken to all three. Everyone was very supportive. Mark's one comment is that the bridge the posted weight, I think, is 16,000 pounds. And so you can have between 88 and 100 people on the bridge at one time. So we would have to work within that,
Does that include the table?
the 10, 20, yeah, yeah.
Displays,
yes,
well as the 80.
yeah, yes. The police chief and the fire department had no problems, and Mark had talked about, and I'm really sad he's leaving because he has done one heck of a job. I really enjoyed working with him. He talked about the bridge needing another outlet to begin with. He wanted to do that without the market being there, so
How many outlets?
I think there's one.
Oh. And how many, just refresh my memory, how many vendors were you anticipating?
We're talking about 20 on the bridge
And then that would be in addition to,
to the cafe and food vendors on the green.
okay, so all artisans are on the bridge, all.
Correct.
Okay.
That's the goal.
And that's Friday and Saturday.
Yes. And Friday night, yes, and we're planning some other things, like maybe a Friday night kickoff and stores open late with a little parade of bells and handheld candles,
Not near horses.
right, but not on the street, just on the sidewalk. So,
Okay. How many vendors do you normally have on the green during LaSalle?
oh, we've had up to 15, not generally a lot more than that, because, you know, the Masonic Lodge and Jennifer Maxim has an art festival. These are the Overflow
Okay.
Artisans Festival. They have a craft festival at Masonic Lodge, so we kind of get the other folks.
We've got plenty from Pride.
And I know, I'm so excited.
Turning them away. I mean, it's not good. But, okay, so this is just about in line with what you had. This is a little more than what you traditionally have.
Correct. I mean, our goal has always been that,
Okay.
you know, hoping that happens, but
So it's a max of 20, but it could be less than that.
absolutely.
Okay.
And if it's, you know, significantly less, we probably wouldn't, you know, use the bridge because we wouldn't want to, you know, take the bridge for, you know, under 10 people. That would just not look good. You know, we want it to be substantive and,
Yeah.
you know, a good visitor's experience, good local experience.
And Joe, you all have talked about this. Can you talk about how the traffic moves around? And then like, there are a couple of places that, like that one that's on that house that faces the green, like their driveway literally is right there. And then there's those apartments that on the other side of the bridge on River and
On the far side, away from the green, there's no driveway that'd be obstructed. There's
that house that has the, like, their little like nut, little,
on
that's right after.
on this side, you mean
Yes, this side.
the,
I think it's an STR.
I didn't hear what you
I
said.
think it's an STR.
Okay. Would the bridge be closed from like where the fire hydrant is out across?
Yes.
So then it maybe they might, yeah, they need to get in or out. I would imagine someone could help them, but also maybe just let them know.
So there would be somebody there that can move that, because that, and then where would you close off Mountain between the bridge and River? Because there are those.
I'm just picturing like right within like 10 feet of the
Where
end
the
of the
bus
bridge.
stops, I mean, so the bus stops for the shuttle on.
Yeah, right at the
Right. at
four-way.
Mount Ave, right. So that's where I think you
I would just,
close it off and have people use River Street. You don't want to come down.
yeah, close it off, but then somebody would be able to have to let them in if they were getting to that driveway for that.
Is
House
there
on
a
the corner.
driveway over there?
Yeah.
Okay, well,
There's a garage there too that holds 2 cars, so people need to be able to get in and out of
Yeah.
there.
and certainly we don't want to.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it'd be hard for onesie, twosie, but
Okay, so do you think that means having an officer or a volunteer there all the time to?
we're probably overtasked for
Okay,
the parade already, so.
so would you have a volunteer
So
there?
we would have somebody that's gonna manage the artisans, you know, like we do for the art festival, we always have, you know, someone there and, you know, in case someone has to use the restroom, et cetera, so they, you know, we have booth sitters, a booth sitter, so it would be the same type of thing, if someone needs to get in and out.
Okay,
And have, you know, certainly have that established by the time we're.
okay, because I know in that set of apartments, there's somebody there who wheelchair or walker, so I just know that there's somebody that has limited,
Okay,
uh,
well, we
Ability to
certainly
walk.
wouldn't want to prohibit anybody from.
yeah, so I just want to make sure that people can get in and out of their own homes. Are there any other questions from the trustees? Yeah, go ahead.
And this is safety. I cross that bridge twice a week, year round, sketchy time. So, and that time of year, there can be ice, there can be
Oh.
snow, and when you walk across that bridge, you go. You know, if you go from the sidewalk to wood and there's there's no traction. So I want to make sure that the proper things are there to protect the safety of the people there, because the whole inside of the bridge can ice very easily.
Okay.
I just want to make sure that you've got that.
No, I'm really appreciative of knowing.
Don't Ed fly over that thing and
Yeah.
I've fallen there several times. We really need to pay attention to that. But
No, and definitely I'd work with the new,
Okay.
Mark's person,
Yeah.
the new person,
Right.
to make sure that that's, you know, there's safety there on Friday morning, et cetera.
Right.
And we do the same down at, the parking area at the east end for the horses, et cetera, so.
And would you use the mountain side to,
Drop off and pick up.
yeah. Yeah, because I wouldn't.
That's a whole logistic, I
Okay.
mean, it's kind of like we figured out for the Taste of Woodstock, you kind of come in one way and go out. And we'll have to figure out if it's easier to just park sideways this way and then go out and
Okay, I
park.
just don't want to block the traffic going on the route. That's gonna be
Oh, no, no, we're not gonna do that.
craziness. Okay. Okay. Brenda, do you have any questions? Frank? Do you have any
No,
questions?
thank you. No, thank
Is there any public comment in the room or on Zoom? Okay, in that case, I would make a motion to approve the permit, for, I just wrote it down, for Friday, December 13th and Saturday, December 14th for a market on the bridge. And I just ask that you give us updates
Absolutely.
along the way so that we just know how it's going. Is
Second.
there a second? Jeffrey seconds. All in favor, say aye.
I,
you. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Beth. Okay, next item on our agenda, getting back to the written agenda, discussions. The first item under discussions is the Garden Club plant sale. Is there someone? Oh, come on up.
Hi
And give
there.
us your name and tell us.
Tracy Phillips, 1192 Prosper. I've been before the trustees, and you granted me a permit. I'm back because I understand now there is no ordinance in place. Our plant sale's coming up the end of May. All of our proceeds go right back into town. As you know, the boxes on the bridge, the planters in out front of town hall on the green. And now we've been told that you're moving it. You want to move it, the Gore,
Oh, no,
or-
that's incorrect.
what is it?
So, and for those of you who don't know, so in March, the village trustees passed an ordinance. The ordinance included multiple items, including the establishment of a permit process for the Gore. And so when we passed that the same day that we approved a permit for the plant sale. To
Okay.
have the garden club to have their plant sale. When we approved that permit, it was on the condition that the ordinance was passed and went into effect. That was the condition of the permit. Since then, and we had no reason to believe that that wouldn't happen. Since then, there was a petition brought by a village resident, signed by 45 people in the village, which is the legal requirement to challenge an ordinance. And so when we receive a petition like that, the ordinance then does not go into effect. So what we have to do as a municipality, and this is a state law, is we are given 60 days from the time that petition is turned in to schedule a public vote. It then goes to a public vote, and then when the public comes and they vote on it, if they decide, yes, we want to keep the ordinance, then the ordinance goes into effect that day. If they vote and say, no, we don't want this ordinance, then the ordinance goes away. So at this point, because we passed the ordinance and then a petition was turned in, that automatically stopped the ordinance. So that has nothing to do with the trustees.
Okay.
We did not make a decision, but it is a state law that when the community brings a petition with 5% of the voters signing it, we have to stop, and that ordinance doesn't go into effect. So there is no ordinance. There is no permit to give you.
Okay.
There are no rules. So it
So-
wasn't us wanting to move anything. It's
Okay.
that the ordinance doesn't exist, which means the permit doesn't exist.
Okay, so where are we then? Do I just petition you to say,
So There
We
are,
would really like to hold the event at the Gore for
So-
a number of reasons. First and foremost, we don't think it's going to be as successful if we were to hold it on the green. And without any business, we have nothing to give back to the community. Safety issue. We're concerned that if we were to hold it on the green, loading and unloading and running back across the street, that we use the library as our home base as far as there's something called a country cupboard, and we make coffee there. We have use their refrigeration. You know, we're going back from the library to the green. What else can you support me with? My fellow plant sale chair, Benny Dembinski.
Yeah, the
Tell us your name.
safety,
Sorry.
I'm Jennifer Dembinski, from West Woodstock.
Thank you.
Yeah, other than, well, visibility and, you know, being in before the library for what, 26 or 7 years. The safety issue of dropping, like we have a setup day and we're gonna be having like multiple cars come and unloading plants, and there's only like those little entrances on the green, so on the Gore, it's wide open and it's just a lot easier for us to unload and to get out and, you know, to leave, you know, more parking for other people and just going in and out. And then also on the day of the sale, it's safer there because we have a few parking spaces blocked off, and people can just pull in and then come and get their plants and then go out easily. And it's really one entryway instead of two entryway, you know, as opposed to two entryways on the green, or 4 or 5, and people will be coming from all different directions and maybe going off of their plants in different directions, and we won't be able to keep track. So it's just a much better place for people's safety and for the working of the sale. Is
Yeah.
there anything else?
No, that was all I have.
Okay,
Chief, do you
yeah.
want to-
It's been happening,
Judge Ivey.
happening at that location for quite a few
29
years,
years.
29 years with no issue. I don't see any reason to mix it up and add in the congestion of people crossing the street. Because even without the safety issue, that's just gonna slow down traffic. And then you have the additional people crossing the street. But I would say if parking spaces are being blocked off, they need to be paid for. It can be done on the app.
I've talked with police department.
Yeah, so we're being consistent with parking, and parking spaces that are reserved or used are paid for.
Okay, oh, that's good to know.
Thank you. So we would like to have, you know, we are requesting an exemption from the, I don't know, because since there's no ordinance.
Lack of rule.
Pardon, Eric?
I said in the lack of rules.
The lack of rules, right?
Okay, so Frank, just because I'm trying to start with somebody different this time, do you have any questions or ideas or concerns?
I don't have any questions. I'd love to see you guys on the Gore. You know, however, you know, setting an example of giving you access to the Gore when we don't have an ordinance to do so, I think sets a bad precedent, and I don't think that's appropriate for us to do. I'd be happy to, you know, see if we can work with the police department. You know, as the previous person just suggested, we buy a few spaces to block off some spaces at the green and issue you guys a space near the green so you can have easy access, parking, people pick up and drop off. But access to the Gore, if it's not allowed in our ordinance right now, I don't think it's the best thing for us to do.
So can I just, it's not that it's not allowed in the ordinance, it's that there is no ordinance. So this is not something's allowable. Oh, there's no rules for that space currently.
Lisa, did you? Or was I reading your face wrong?
No, I've gone for many years to this. Is it my?
Yeah, go ahead.
I've gone for many years to this. I love the event. I've donated plants there. I've purchased plants there. My husband loved your apple pie. I'm just not sure what to do because I'm concerned that this will have a ripple effect of if they're allowed to do it, why can't we do it? And so I don't know if I understand, Eric. Does that mean, is no ordinance just means we can do what we want, or does no ordinance mean?
So you're right in both senses. So having no ordinance means that trustees have total say to allow and not allow whatever you want on that space. Allowing them without anything in place, if any rules follow, will set a precedent because then people will fall back on that. You can also make the argument that this is a special exception because they applied for it, assume the ordinance was going to be in effect. They're the only one currently who has applied for the Gore space. And so the trustee could say, because of this circumstances, they were already in the process of going through it. It's in 10, 15 days. That could be the exception because it's a one-off because it's here, but that'll be up to the trustees.
I think that's what we should do.
Is there a way that we can say that specifically somewhere that it's a one-off?
Mary would like to say something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Mary, you can come up here. Tell us who you are.
Fellow Mary
Member.
Bourgeois, town of Woodstock. Just a couple of other thoughts. As everyone has already said, the sale has gone on there for a number of years. I do not recall anybody else using the space except for the trustees of the library who used the tent when we used to have a big tent and then held a meeting there afterwards, in the next few days or week. We no longer use that large tent. So we set up on Friday. That means all the product that's going to be sold is stored there, and it has always been safe. And I think, reasonably with some, street patrols. I think it's a different story on the green. It's really hard to see things on the green from the street. And I worry a little bit about vandalism. We pay for rentals of tables and chairs and all the product that we're going to sell. And so there's some concern, to me, some concern about that. So it just seems like the library has always been a safe place. It's kind of a known entity. We've had so much stuff there. People are like, wow, you leave it here? And we're like, yeah, and it's always been fine. So I don't know, that's just one more thing I had thought about. And having the sidewalk for our customers to access and to come into the Gore and for us to help people get their product out is really helpful. Having no sidewalk from the green to wheel a wagon, people will potentially be wheeling in the street because cars are parked along the green. So I just have some concerns about that if we're not on the Gore property.
So my concern is similar to Lisa and Frank's concern, because as we were last summer, for those of you who don't know, last summer we discovered that we own the village owns the Gore, which was a fun little discovery. And so so in that process, once we realized that the village owned it, we decided to not allow anybody to be on the Gore until we had multiple people come to us to ask to use the Gore, and we said no over and over again, because we said we're not going to do it until we have rules, because that's the fairest way to do it. We did talk to the garden club and ask for your opinion. You guys are the first ones that we went to, because we knew that you were one of the groups that held stuff every year. There are a couple other groups that hold things there regularly. We did ask to try to move them. Some of them said yes, some of them said no. So I am concerned about the precedent, because we spent months saying no to people because there was no rule. We spent that time creating a rule, and for better or for worse, there are people in town who don't care for the ordinance and want to vote on it, which is certainly fine. So this is and it's not an ideal, yes?
May I just say something?
Yeah,
I just think that since we went through the process of, with the ordinance in place of getting the
the ordinance
permit,
was never in place. We voted for the ordinance, but it never went into place because
okay,
it goes into place 60 days after it's passed. And within those
Oh.
60 days, people have 45 days
oh,
to
okay,
contest it. So we
okay,
had it scheduled, so because when we voted on it, I think it was like March 12th, it would have gone into effect in plenty, May, 12th, whatever the date is, in plenty of time for
okay,
you all. So like that was all very planned out and we crossed our Ts and dotted our Is to make sure that the garden club got their permit and that
even though the
everything-
ordinance still wasn't in place yet.
so, but the ordinance was going to be in place by the time that
Right.
you all had your sale.
Okay,
So we wanted to make sure that that happened. Once that petition got turned in, everything changed, not because of us, but because of
Right.
the petition, which is completely legal and fine. That stopped it. So this was, I want to make sure that people know this was not a decision the trustees made or the village made. This is just what happens when people turn in a petition.
Mhm.
And that is unfortunate, fortunately or unfortunately,
right,
when the petition goes in, all those new rules don't apply anymore. So I just want to be clear that no one is trying to stop anything or prevent anything.
right,
And so my one concern about the exception is that, one, we spent 9 months saying no to people. So if somebody comes to us tomorrow and says, I want to be on there, you let the garden club, then, making people upset is something we have to do sometimes. So, maybe people just have to deal with that. But then
Right.
we are in the position of saying, no, we granted this exception because these extenuating circumstances, which might be totally fine. But we are then saying no to everybody else when we said yes to one group, which is a decision and it's not right or wrong.
well,
What's
are there,
the-
may I ask a question? Are there any other permits in place for the gore?
There was no
until-
rule until March.
No one else has. ended up.
So we're the only ones who have even tried to get a permit for
No,
there.
but we know that we have one. We had two other groups last year ask for permits that we
Right, but,
because there was no permit to give. So I just want you all to know the
okay,
process and that this is
okay.
without
I just want to know what the supply and demand is like.
well, and I also know that there are other
Okay.
people that have told me that they are going to be
Right.
requesting use of the gore over the summer. So
Right.
those folks were,
And
well, right now we have to say no to them,
So there will be no use of the gore? I mean,
not until there's an ordinance.
and which is going to be
We're gonna
60
have-
days from the petition that the,
So one of our items tonight is to set the date for that vote.
okay,
So if there's a public vote and people will literally vote to say, yes, we want the ordinance or no, we don't. If they say, yes, we want the ordinance, then the ordinance will be in effect that day. If they say no, we have to go back to the drawing board and start the process all over again. So that's to say there will be no ordinance for the gore. There can't be anything on the gore. And what Eric said, just to clarify, just in my own mind, if there's not a rule and it just sort of exists, that means that at any time, someone can there is no permission to give, right? So technically, someone could just show up on the gore tomorrow and sell cookies
Barbecue.
or do whatever they want. And it would be up to the municipality to say, you're trespassing, go away, or no, we're okay with it. So it puts us in a position where we can't say yes or no. There is no way for us to say yes or no. All we can say is, we don't want you to be here. But if we say we don't want you to be here to one person, then we have to justify why Girl Scout cookies are okay, but Boy Scout popcorn is not, whatever that
Okay.
happens to be. So I just want you to know that this is a larger conversation.
so is our permit,
There's
then
no permit.
there's no permit. So if we wanted to be on the green, then do we have to go
If you want to be, on the absolutely, we can,
permit process? again?
absolutely.
Wait, you know,
Okay,
for the trustees.
You did, and you're welcome to.
No, okay, no, I haven't done this.
okay.
You're welcome to.
Thank you. Appreciate that. This thing is really upsetting to me. It seems to me that it's pretty simple. It's been there for 29 years. We own the property. We can grant an exception because we had already given them a permit. And it's a wonderful organization. There's no reason not to allow them to do it and make that decision based on the reality of the garden club, how they've been there. The fact that we have the right to do that as an exception because we had already given them a permit. That doesn't mean we have to say yes to everybody else. But in this case, I think I strongly believe that we should allow them to be on the floor where they've been and to let it go forward. There won't be any problem. It's easier, and I think it's the best thing to do.
Brendan?
I agree with Jeffrey.
Okay.
Joe, you wanted to say something?
I'll say it, but.
Okay. The person who has to say you're trespassing if there's somebody shows up with Girl Scout cookies tomorrow.
No, that's, it's a workaround.
Oh, okay. Would you like to share with the class?
Well, I can issue a peddler.
Oh.
If trustees don't want to do it.
What kind of license?
That would be-
So that's
Oh.
what we gave to the
Yep.
Indian food truck, the ability to to sell something in the village.
You do that on the municipal property?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Joe, can you stand up?
Oh, yeah. Who are you?
Yeah, no, Frank couldn't hear you.
Oh,
So,
sorry, Frank.
yeah, so, in the ordinance, the peddler's license is issued by the chief of police. If I remember what the wording is correct, if I remember the wording correctly, but, we could go that route.
Okay.
And then I don't think it's specific to the area, but it would be it would specifically be public land because we wouldn't do that for private property.
Eric, does that check out?
Yeah, I mean.
I don't hate that.
I'm in favor of the garden club having their space on the floor, so anything that happens clear that, I think is the same pitfall. It's an exception to Bell's license, so I appreciate what Joe's saying, but I mean, either way, you're making an exception, so.
But a peddler's license doesn't go through us.
No, this was the police chief,
Okay.
so you're just kicking the decision over to the chief, so.
So could you have a peddler's license on the green if we didn't give a permit?
I believe so, yes. I don't want to confirm, but I believe so, yes.
So many loopholes. I mean, that's the thing. Roger, did you have a public comment? I want to make sure we get any public.
Yeah, I mean, this is exactly sort of to the point of what I was talking about before, that there seems to be people who just want to say no to everything that we want to do. If I understood the listserv back and forth correctly, it was more the private parties that were upsetting people. And I realize it's all part of the same ordinance, but I would imagine if you said we had this in process, in good faith, we gave it, in good faith, they accepted it. And it's not a private party, it's a not-for-profit, or I don't know exactly what the garden club is, but it's obviously not, doesn't, it's not a profit-making company. So personally, I don't think you'd get significant pushback to do this, especially since they've been doing it, and who will even notice? I think it was the private parties that were really the concern that I saw on the listserv.
But the petition.
No, and I understand, you're right, it's the petition is for the ordinance. I mean, as long as it doesn't put the town in any kind of legal risk.
Well, and that's one of the other things, although we already have it, one of the things that we had in the ordinance, which does not exist now, is a certificate of insurance. So anytime anybody is on public land, we ask them for a certificate of insurance because that transfers the liability. And we do already have that from the garden club, so could that still stand if it's not attached to a permit? I assume so, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That would still stand.
Okay. What are you finding with the peddler's license?
I'm just reading through and, so it can be licensed to a specific location, reasonable conditions. It can be, appealed to the board of the trustees within 30 days if someone wants to. And if so an applicant has it denied, they can appeal to the trustees. Yeah. But there's no limit. It can be on the parks. And it would be the police chief's,
And it's just up to the discretion of the police chief,
yes.
because you with all your power. Okay, well, I like the idea of having it be a peddler's license because it allows the sale to go on where it's always been. It means that we're not making an exception, which means that we'll kick any requests over to you. So if it's falling under, girl, you and me both. Yeah. So I mean, I would make let's even make a motion to recommend, I would make a motion to it's not even a vote, but I would recommend that the police chief consider and approve a peddler's, is that even how I make this?
I think you could recommend the municipal manager,
Okay.
advise the police chief to do a peddler's license. So-
Recommend
So noted.
that the municipal manager suggest to the police chief that he grant a peddler's license to the garden club to hold their whatchamacallit, their plant sale on the green or on the gore, goodness.
With
Knowing that we also have a certificate of insurance and ask that the police chief get a certificate of insurance for the peddler's license. Is there a second to that motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Frank, any opposed? Are you guys abstaining?
By the way, it's going.
Yeah, I just,
Are you saying nay? Or are you abstaining? You need to,
If it's this doesn't require any more work on their part to be there.
no.
All right, well, then I vote for it.
Okay, you're a yay.
I guess I am too.
Okay, so that's 5 yays. Okay, motion
Yeah.
passes.
So, chief, could you get the peddler's license and reach out to Gardens Club and
Once they get the peddler's license, they can go in on land.
be specific to the gore?
On Mountain Avenue.
At the end of a long driveway. What's that? Yeah, thank you, guys. I know this has been it's a lot for all of us. I appreciate it. Yeah. And Chief Joe will take care of you. I'm glad we could figure this out. Okay, next item on the agenda is conversation about foliage. Always fun. Did you want to start us off, Eric?
Sure. So I think we always kind of get caught up with foliage around the corner, and we're always then rushing to try to find more food options. We always have conversations of what to do with buses, and we never get around to doing it. I think last year there was a conversation with having kind of a bus ambassador. I don't know if that position was ever, I think it might have been through the EDC, or if it was never hired for. You know, it's May, but pretty soon it'll be Memorial Day, then it'll be 4th of July, and then foliage will be here. So I think the board just had discussing porta potties, traffic, and kind of also maybe signage for restrooms, and also started having a conversation about what we want to do about food. I think we had a lot of interest last year from nonprofits who sold food on Sunday and Monday. I know on Mondays they were very popular. Numerous times they sold out of soup before I could get some. So I think starting that campaign earlier rather than later would be very beneficial. So maybe we can come up with some kind of guidelines we want to use. I think also advocating for local businesses to be open on Sundays and Mondays too, if possible, to kind of help people get food while they're here.
Okay.
I'll keep on saying it. They're gonna do it, but
What about road closures
you talking about in the village or outside the village?
outside the village?
That has not come up at all with the select board. As of right now, I believe what happened last year, they may be interested in doing from the other municipality, but it has not been discussed by the Woodstock Select Board.
What days is the court taking this parking spaces?
That's a good question. So, Chief Swanson talk a little more about that. They're not quite sure on the timeline yet. And so I think we don't know. That was the last email, right? They weren't sure quite exactly when they were gonna
Oh,
need
talking to the mic because Frank can't hear you.
I wasn't sure.
the courthouse.
That's gonna start somewhere around June 10th.
Oh, wow.
So I've already talked to Mark about signage. We've taken care of the meters for Saturday, so that way they'll be better organized than because now the permit parking is not there anymore.
So it's all of the, so outside of the
So
library.
Monday through Friday will be all courthouse / the library spaces. Then Saturday, the 20 spaces will be for meters. Or yeah, Saturday.
20
Have
spaces
have
for
they
what?
agreed to the dollar?
They did. They did agree to it.
And how much was that?
41,600 a year.
Okay.
And the second year it will be prorated to whatever, however long.
And so that's June to June?
June to June 10th would be the first year, and then however long after that
So
would be the
are
second.
you losing, so it's how many spaces behind the courthouse?
There's 20 total. The courthouse already was renting 12. So the state is now renting an additional 8, but for more money than they were.
Where would those additional?
They're
come-
all in those courthouse library parking lot.
Okay,
They're all contiguous with the 12 that were there.
okay.
So on Saturday, public can park behind the courthouse, but
Yes.
not Monday to Friday.
Correct.
They park there after 5 or no?
After 5, there's really no issue with it. It's my only concern is if someone tries to park there overnight and then isn't moved
Okay.
in the morning. I'll have to have a meeting coming up with what level of enforcement they want. If they want us checking or if they just want to call us if there's a problem. But that's pretty easy.
So one problem, potential problem is, we had porta potties back there in front of foliage.
Oh,
Yeah, that
yeah,
will be, no,
Have to find another spot.
I have to find somewhere else to put it.
Or
I can give you a license for a title license. Which means you have to pay toilet.
So that's a problem.
Oh, that's amazing. Okay. So, okay, and are they getting any additional spaces besides the ones that are behind the courthouse or it's just?
No, it's just those. We wouldn't really be able to regulate something in the flow of traffic.
And so sometimes when they have court cases, they use other space, is that, or will they, like juries?
When they have jury draw, they have, I don't really know how many they have left, but there's a lot of hoods they put on the meters on the green, but now there's not meters on the green, so I haven't really seen them do one recently.
Okay, no, I haven't.
I can't really picture how they're doing it, but theoretically, when they have jury draw, they'll have more jury draws now because they'll have criminal and civil.
Okay,
Um,
so we'll have more juries in town.
yeah.
So I'll take away significant parking. It could,
Pack of PB&J.
Yeah, now when you will.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Food truck on the court. Okay.
You'll need a peddler's license.
So that's a good question. So conversation about porta potties for foliage will have to be discussed, different locations now.
Okay. So I mean, I think the porta potties have been helpful but usually we do it Indigenous Peoples Weekend.
So last year was the first time we tried it and it was very successful, if that's to use the word.
Successful porta potty.
Yeah, and then I believe a Wausau too, we used it as well back there.
I'm not sure if court's maybe not in session that weekend, so we might be able to do,
Except for that they drop them off like on Friday and.
yeah, well, if the court's out on Friday or if the court's out on Monday, we might be able
Oh, okay.
to tweak it.
Oh, so they won't need the spaces on a Friday?
Right, if court's closed, I don't know if they are or not, but
Oh.
if court's closed, they wouldn't need it.
Okay. But we won't know that until when they have a calendar on it.
I mean, the court calendar's probably out, but I would wait until after they've moved to really look at their court calendar.
Okay, so we should probably start looking at some alternative.
I
spaces.
would think so, but there might still be a possibility for a shortened period.
Okay.
What about signage for the welcome center? The sign that's there is broken. That shape.
Sign.
In front of the bank.
The sign in front of the bank.
Oh, it's in the office right now, needing to be fixed.
Okay. Yeah. 'Cause
So it looks, no, we cleaned it up and I think we. Anyway, it will be there.
I know because of my location where I work at Danforth Computer, have to figure out to do better signage for bathrooms.
Yeah.
Because the first thing that they say to me is where's the bathroom? And the second thing they say to me is where can I eat? So I become the tour guide for our visitors. And at the same time, I have to be the salesperson for my company. And it does take away time for me with all my customers. And I'm sure Jeff the same way, is that we have to direct people that's taking us away from our business.
Yeah, so I think it's one of the things we want to talk about is how to do this better, and now we're in May, so it should be, you know, a full conversation, and I don't know if it's worth tasking 1 or 2 board members to kind of start looking at some of these things and going off in the next few weeks and asking some of those questions, what can be done, and coming back to the board in June with some, you know, recommendations.
Beth, did you have a?
Well, everyone else was out here having fun at the Aqueduct meeting. I was in there with a group from EDC, which are addressing the same information, signage for the bathrooms, et cetera. And, so, you know, there are people working on it.
I would love to have a trustee on that.
That would be super.
I want us.
No, it's silly.
I'm
It's very,
happy to volunteer for that, but just for foliage.
well, this is for the whole, like, information, et cetera. But,
We need to figure out a way for, I think we need to figure out a way for all of our groups to coordinate
Yep.
how we talk.
Yeah, because that's not happening.
think,
We've got 2 or 3 different people working on 2 or 3 different things,
I
all the same. And it's just repetitive, and I don't know how we can make that communication piece better, but we need to.
Yeah, so I think originally we're gonna have a bunch of joint meetings the last month and a half on that topic exactly, and the short-term rentals kind of overtook it. But I think those are now scheduled for hopefully June, and kind of having those conversations with the committees, with the commissions, with the boards, and saying, this is how we want things to operate. So it's coming from the top down, not middle up or middle down. So that the trustees type board can say, we need a foliage group, and the EDC and the planning commission and wherever else can work together. Instead of having the planning commission over here, the EDC here, trustees over here, all doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And we're wasting 2 groups' time, you know?
And I'm happy to volunteer for this.
super, thank you.
And we've talked about also having, and it's new for the trustees at least, but an ex officio. Officio for the planning commission, but having ex officios for other committees, subcommittees, so that could be EDC, that could be finance, so that there is somebody that can report back and is the expert in the room. So like Frank is the expert in the room for planning. I would love to have somebody for the EDC or.
It would be great because the EDC has 5 groups that are going off discussing about buses and tourism and food and this and
That's a,
and the parking and the welcome center place now and whatever it's called.
Committees.
that's a lot of,
You're on
time.
one of the EDC committees? Well, thank heavens.
That's a huge time
Thank you.
Do you want to
commitment.
be our ex officio?
For all BBC? I don't know about that. I'm already, that's marketing committee, the EDC.
You're on the marketing, but that's,
I'm also on the parking committee. Larry
oh,
Cottle.
I mean, I can pick up some of the ones.
EDC's doing a parking committee?
yes, they have been.
Part of their overview thing, parking is one.
That public meetings where they
Yeah.
identify, you know, a billion different things, and Jonathan broke them down into 4 or 5 categories.
Right.
So
So I think
Maybe the board chair should meet with,
We need to think about
have a little,
different locations. Beth, do you guys still have that money for the? I need to do that this year.
through the EDC, I have it through this year, so it's, it would be lovely, so,
It's the problem finding. to do it.
yeah, so if somebody has an idea,
What is,
you know, we can discuss it, you know, offline, but
what about,
that was paid for from post-pandemic money for marketing. So it was a QR code, something online, as well as the things that we handed out to everyone. So they're just, it's not that much money, you know, $1,000 would, or less would do it, but it is funding for that at the moment.
would you be able to manage it if it was funded?
I'd like to talk with you about it afterwards. Yeah, I mean, I think we can. That was part of the whole discussion with the information group tonight, was doing the same thing. You know, and maybe different ways to do it. So, you know, I think we'll have something in place before foliage season, definitely.
I can talk to Beth to see what committees have to do mainly with the foliage. Long-term like parking, but
Okay.
the foliage stuff, I can work with Beth on that and see what committees are doing what, see what I can become involved with.
Okay.
I'm you.
I don't know, are you still discussing this? Are you going?
No, we're still discussing.
Okay, I think that something that really needs to be looked at and should start being looked at pretty soon, because I think there are potential legal ramifications. And that is the value added by tour buses. Is there any? Is there any value added that overcomes the amount of problems that it causes? And I don't think there's any way you can say a tour bus can't come here, but I think you can say tour buses get to go down to the East End Park and they can unload anybody they want there, and those people can do whatever they want to. But having them pull up in front of the bank there and disgorge people, it blocks traffic. And again, I would argue that, and I can't prove this with data, but I would argue that we're not talking high data customers for Woodstock. I mean, high value customers for Woodstock. And also a lot of buses pull up right in front of the covered bridge and park in front of the houses on the green, or else the brick house that belongs to the inn there. And a bunch of people jump off and do their selfies and then jump back on again. And all that does is cause traffic problems in Woodstock, and those people are not spending, at most they're buying ice cream, but probably not even that, because it's further than they're going to walk if they're just jumping on there. So I realize that there are probably some legal implications on this, but I think we need to understand that, yes, there's a big part of the economy that's a tourist economy here, but we need to maximize the benefits of that tourist economy and minimize low value impacts on the lives of residents here. And I think tour buses are the low hanging fruit on that. So that's, and again, I don't expect anybody to come up with the solution to this right now.
Okay.
I think it's something we need to really throw into the mix.
Okay.
Tonight, I mean, it's already 8:20, so I don't want to get into a discussion about tour buses are not my favorite things, but you can't say that, Mrs. Smith that's on a tour bus that stops here. And I mean, there are legal issues about parking in front of this side of the green, et cetera. And I know the police or even the people that are doing meters tell them to move along when they're there. But my point is, if Mrs. Smith comes from Arkansas and her son is a lawyer in New York, which is quite probable, and she said, I saw this wonderful town and you should go see it. I mean, I think you're missing the marketing piece that is a word of mouth. That I remember when one of our merchants put a sign that said no bus people on their door. And that was several years ago, but it's someone that's still in business. But so just think about, they're having their trip of a lifetime, and hopefully they go home and tell somebody that can afford to come here and shop at Elevation. Maybe they're only buying an ice cream cone, but 10% of that ice cream cone is going to the 1% is going to the EDC, the rest going to the state for folks.
Sounds like, among other things, so traffic management, and I think there's always an acknowledgement that we can't do everything, but let's do the best that we can. So what are the items that we want to make sure that we are figuring out? So for foliage, I mean, for all the time, but
Signage.
okay, so
Signage, porta potties,
signage,
porta potties.
porta potty,
Potential other bus drop-off locations.
Drop off,
Bus
pick up,
drop-off location.
and pick up.
Okay.
Trash.
I think find ways to encourage people to park further away and walk. I mean,
In that municipal lot at East End.
yes, or the elementary school parking lots or down by town hall and walking and not trying to circle and find a spot right in the village.
And I just lost.
So
my-
maybe during, the beginning of foliage, maybe what we should do is, put something on the listserv. Like once a week, reminding people that it's a busy time of the year. Don't get discouraged with parking. There's always great parking at the elementary school on weekends and evenings.
Yeah, I think applicant wears this parking outside of
Yeah.
normal places, so people are aware of it, so residents can park there, but also they can tell people where else they can park too.
So signage of that information, making
Yeah.
sure that anybody has to answer the question at their store 20 times a day, can just go here.
21st hour.
And I think too, there is a new marketer for the EDC, and this might be something of how we can use social media or other things to get the word out to people coming. Even if it's just something directing them to somewhere else.
And social media's problem it's the age of the people on the bus.
Yeah.
They're not as social media savvy as, someone as young as Joe or maybe. So that's the only, there has to be multiple
I
ways
think my
to
police
do
chief
it.
is seasoned, is that the way I refer to him as?
But anyway, I was trying to find an example in the room and that's, I don't know, Eric, was I at the wrong example?
Why didn't you look at me, Lisa? Come on, man.
Oh, shoot, I'm sorry.
But I think Lisa points clear of how we accommodate the tour bus people, the influence who come in the car, and how we try to make it so everyone can come and spend money.
And I think I can work with that with Beth.
Okay, so seems like signs, porta potties, food, bus drop off and pickup, trash, parking for other parking options further away, maps for parking, info and brochures for restaurants and shops so that they can be handing things out as opposed to saying the same thing over and over and over again. Anything else to add to this list?
Nope.
Okay.
That's what I can think of right now.
But I think very just interested, I think this is great, I think Lisa's helping is great, but I think we have to make sure we follow up on these and actually
Yes.
do some
My
things.
next question.
Yeah, good.
So you're gonna check in with the EDC,
I'm gonna check in with Beth.
Beth.
And then I can put together a plan of how soon something can happen based on when I talk to Beth about these different meetings and
Okay.
things like that. So
And I would love to get, and maybe this is just a follow-up with
getting
John from the EDC or somebody from the EDC to come and talk to us maybe next month and just give us an overview of what they're doing. But
Yeah.
things like, I think like the porta potties and the food are the two things that we need to get started on soon.
I think, do you still have the list from last year, of people who reached out about the food?
Yeah, and now I've got a whole bunch more people just because of
Yeah.
Pride. So are we, as we start thinking about this, Sunday, Monday, or
Monday, food.
Sunday, Monday.
additional days? Are we open to adding a Tuesday or a Saturday?
Well, Saturday's usually covered. Tuesday maybe, like Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. But the only, if it's like Montverde and,
On a Tuesday.
but Montverde and, they're each closed like a Tuesday or a Wednesday, aren't they?
No,
Thursdays.
Thursday for Montverde.
And what about?
Hopefully good.
I think it's getting late. I think that we should have another meeting to
Yeah.
discuss just this.
Yeah.
Eric needs to go on vacation. I need dinner.
Yeah.
I'm going regardless of what happens tonight, don't worry. Yeah.
Dinner.
And Nick's sitting here.
Yeah, and Nick's been sitting here all night.
Okay, but I want to make sure that we've got, so,
Maybe he's tired now.
yes.
I'll follow up and
So you're
get
gonna
it.
follow up,
Yeah.
we'll follow up with John, ask him to come talk to us in June. I'm happy to start looking into food options.
Yeah.
I will take that on, and I'm happy to, if you all can start brainstorming about porta potty locations, I've gotten the porta potties in the past, I'm happy to look into that. Okay.
I think I'm behind the Gillinghams. Or, yeah. Well, actually, I
Tried
guess
it.
it would be the Gallo.
When it's late, you get to go meet dinner.
Next item on the agenda, a non-controversial one, parking.
Yeah.
So
Got something to start.
okay. Jeffrey's gonna start us off with parking.
Yeah, just because the committee has met. And we presented numerous parking recommendations since December. These recommendations are different any ones that are passed, governed by, resolution regulation as opposed to ordinances. So there's no ordinance for this. And at this time, the committee is suggesting to the trustees that we, alter and postpone some of the proposals and drop at least one of them entirely. So I'll just want to go through this and then we can have discussion, both public and trustees. We recommend creation of a parking fund reserve to go into the reserve. We've talked about that. One that would not interfere with this year's budget going forward, would start to provide money to be spent specifically on parking needs. And so and we wanted to fund that primarily through permitted parking, Mechanic Street, Library, and any Elm Street permits. And then tonight, it's come up that the monies that we're getting that are beyond what we normally would get at the library lot, perhaps that excess could start that. That's something to consider. That's just a thought, because we weren't anticipating that $41,000. So rather than that go into the general fund, so it's not in the budget, current budget, perhaps that's where we start that reserve. One thought. But the one that we're recommending dropping completely as any idea is doing anything about the unloading space behind 121 Home. And that we're recommending that we leave that exclusive to 121 Home due to the nature of the goods that they sell, the reason that they were given that exception and to purchase that lease of that one space to begin with. That's our recommendation, that we leave that be. Of course, at the end of each year, the fee itself can be discussed, but we're recommending not making that public to other businesses. But at this time, and after months of public discussion, we do recommend considering moving on two things. The first of which is, and furthermore, before I can say that, the committee feels that at this time, we are not interested in raising the rates in the employee parking lot on Mechanic Street, or the library lot, which we're not going to have access to right now. But we do want to consider raising, and that's, it's budgeted for what it is right now. We do want to consider the possibility of raising those, but much more minimally than we originally thought, based on public feedback. So that's our recommendation. Trustees can do whatever we vote, but that's our recommendation, that we not change that in that employee parking lot. Next, the two things that we do recommend considering to do now, after having talked about it publicly, is changing the hours of operation of the parking meters which is currently 10 to 4 to 10 to 5. So they more closely match the hours of the businesses, still leaving an hour in the morning. People want to come in and do business at the bank or something such as that, without worrying about putting money into a meter. But we think it makes sense to have it match more closely the hours of the businesses. So that's number one.
Just the parking meter?
That would be everything.
Okay.
10 to 5. And that would be number 2F under the parking resolution 2, it'd be number F. To change it, very simple wording to change it from 10 to 4 to 10 to 5. The second one we're recommending is only concerning the parking meters that are on poles that are on Elm Street or on Route 4, both east and west, meaning North Park Street, South Park, all the ones on Route 4, that those have a 4-hour time limit, so that there is turnover, and those are meant, those meters in particular are really where we get a lot of customers looking to park, shop and eat. We think 4 hours is a good time for that. Used to be 2 hours. Eventually, we expanded it to unlimited, and that's been abused by some employees. So we're recommending the 4 hours, but not for the kiosks in the Mechanic Street lot and not for the kiosks on the green, just for the area we said. And finally, the one other recommendation, and I don't even know if this has to be in the resolution, but there's public parking on Pleasant Street that a lot of people are not aware of, east of Tribu Park. And if that could be lined off, it doesn't have to be individual lines, like rectangles. It could just be the outer line indicating that it's public parking. We think that would be really helpful to let people know there's more free parking than they might realize in the village down that street. But anyway, tonight I'd like us to discuss what I've said and what the committee is. Brenda and Susan Chiefsky and I, and also to perhaps discuss and act on just those 2 points that I brought.
And I just have a point of clarification. So the parking meters on Route 4 on the poles,
Yes,
so making that said 4 hours.
yes, and that would be section 2B.
Okay, yeah, we're, I just want to make sure.
Section 2B, where it says there's no time limit during regulated times. And we would just change that wording to be, there's a 4-hour time limit for parking in a space, and then define specifically to be
okay.
just those ones,
Okay, thank you.
just those ones that I said,
Okay.
including the green and Mechanic Street.
So then we need to, so it would be rewriting this section to say, these are unlimited, these spots are unlimited, these spots are 4 hours.
Correct.
Is that correct? Okay.
Yes.
These are 4 hours.
Well, because, okay.
No,
Well, because this says Elm Street, so,
no, it'd just be,
Okay,
rewritten,
right.
so it would be
so.
what
this
I
is-
described.
I just want to make sure that I'm writing it down correctly. Trustees, do you have questions about this?
No.
Okay. Frank, do you have any questions or concerns about all the items?
I do. I'm curious as to what data and analytics we have been using, Jeffrey, to come up with these scenarios here of these parking solutions. Where did you get your info from, and how can we expand on it?
Well, the info for the two that I brought up that I'm looking for us to consider tonight is that the purpose of the parking meters that are on the poles is to have turnover, and it's in sort of the very most central business district section. And we have observed employees parking at those all day long. We want to discourage that. We know that there is free parking that's not being used in the village. And we want to develop a map that shows that, separate from this. But we do know that the spots that I'm talking about are intended primarily for use for business purposes. And people who want to shop or have lunch. And so that's where that's from. And
Got it. Have we thought about issuing a permit to the employees that work in our community to park in the 2-hour parking, where those employees are still paying to park, but they are allowed to park in the 2 hours, which relieves those paid parking spots for people who are purchasing parking to go spend
Right.
money in our stores?
Yes, Frank, we have right now a resolution in place that allows 10 permitted parking spaces in the 2-hour zone on Elm Street. None of them are currently being used. It's one of the things that we recommend. We're just not recommending to act on it tonight necessarily, but I think that's in terms of how we want, what rate we want that to be, but that's already in place, and we need to advertise that more and make employees and employers aware that those spaces are available. But now they're not guaranteed spaces. That's the difference between them and Mechanic Street and the library. If you get there in the morning, you can be there all day. But if you leave, you might not get that space back if it's taken. That's what differentiates those spaces from the ones in Mechanic Street or the library.
Thanks, Jeffrey.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So anyway, I would like to move forward with those two. We can vote on them separately or together.
The only thing I saw there is this should be 15, right? In front of the post office, 'cause it's 12 there. Can we change it to 15?
That's,
One says 12 and one says 15.
Yeah, so, I think this, you're looking under section B, right? That says 12.
Yeah,
Yeah.
section A says 15.
Yeah, so, there's a park resolution number 1 that was 12 minutes, and then it was updated to park resolution 2, changed to 15 minutes under A, but never adjusted B to make it 15 as well.
well, we should vote on that to make it 15.
Yeah.
Match. And that's another thing.
Where are you?
To bring,
A B.
under B, it says 12 minutes, which is
Oh.
the old resolution. So,
Yeah, just an edit that we can make. Yeah.
so
What a question, Jeffrey, maybe.
Yeah.
So under these metered parking spaces, I was going, just figuring out which are the 4 hours in which y'all are proposing to remain unlimited. How is this list that says there's no time limit for parking in spaces different than the list under D? Am I missing?
under B,
Did we just write it twice? So B says metered parking spaces, there's no time limit for parking in a space, parking zone during regulated times established, yada, yada, provided that the time has been purchased at the meter or by coin.
right.
And then there's that list. And so then D says parking meter spaces without time.
Right. Well, they both need to be changed to be in agreement.
But what's the difference between these, like the way that it's currently written? Anybody understand?
Yeah, Eric, maybe you could comment. I don't know.
No, yeah, I've
Why
seen,
is it
so the first 3 or 4 locations are the same on both.
Yeah.
Parking spaces without time limits.
Both of them indicate that they're parking without time limits.
Yeah, I don't know why that's there twice.
Yeah, I don't know why it's there
And
twice.
should we eliminate?
Any duplication?
Yeah,
Maybe there's a thought on why that was done.
Simplify the whole thing without having this whole list. For most of you, if we simply had one statement there that says all those metered spaces that are on poles on Elm Street or Route 4 have a 4-hour term. All other parking spaces that are open for public metering are unlimited, period. Make it simple.
On the street is 4 hours. So that means only metered parking is the green, all parking spaces next to the fence.
Yep.
When we get the library lot back, it would be the public spaces, library lot, still unlimited,
In the Mechanic Street lot.
Mechanic Street. And then the southern side of Central Street, east of Lincoln. So that's further down.
Yes.
And that's the pit spaces that we talked about.
No, well, if it's on Central, it's east of Lincoln, there's still parking spaces there.
Yeah.
So that's like you.
That's still,
Yeah.
those are still metered poles on.
So that would,
Yeah.
that would also be 4 hours. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure that I got
Yeah,
that.
so if we just had 2 sentences, it would cover it all. Make it simplified.
Are the meters numbered?
Well, I don't-
Like, 451, 452.
well,
But if we change out a meter, then
Yeah.
yeah, that's that part.
Then we get out of sync.
Okay, is there any public comment? Yeah.
It's okay.
I understand. As far as Mechanic Street parking for employees, no change.
No change.
Okay.
And can you tell us your name and where you live? please?
Nick Farrell, Farrell Jewelers.
Okay, you live in Woodstock?
Yeah, I live in Woodstock.
Okay.
For 42 years. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I lived in Barnard for a while.
Okay, just, we need to have it for the record. That's all.
Okay. So that's one thing. And then the other thing is these permits, what, you're selling 32 permits for 10 spots? 10 spots, is that what you're doing?
No. The permitting, the Mechanic Street lot is going to be 18 permits.
The Mechanic Street lot?
We're not voting on that. No,
No,
that's what.
no, I'm talking about these spaces that you said were a free space that you might not get. Do you have to buy a permit for that?
Oh, Elm Street.
Elm Street. I'm talking about,
Flower Park, yes, you have to buy a permit for that.
so how many are you selling? Is it,
10,
you're only selling 10?
10, and 10 spaces. That's currently already a resolution in place.
Yeah, so you're selling 10 and there's 10 spaces. Okay. Of course, I thought it said that there was something about selling 32.
Selling 10. You get, if it's
Okay.
open, you can park there if you have that permit.
Okay, and the 4 hours, you're thinking of changing from unlimited to the 4 hours?
Just on those metered poles on Route 4.
You do understand that, you know, we've been doing this I've been doing this, I was parking for about 30, 40 years. And it's the same story. It's always the employees. We really don't take consideration of the employees. Did we ever have a survey of how many employees are really in the village? Because we did it years ago and it was like 76. Or maybe half of them need parking. That's still 30, 40 cars. So the only thing that I'm thinking of is if you change it to 4 hours, you can do that. I'm not that opposed to it, but the point is that if they are working all day, then that means in the middle of their workday, they have to go and move their car.
I'm hoping that that means that they will go down to the free parking at the bottom of Elm Street, the free parking on Pleasant Street,
Right
the
out
free
here.
parking on North Park Street, opposite the green, free parking all around the St. James.
I'm not opposed to all of the proposals. I'm opposed to doing anything with Mechanic Street because we worked in that committee for years with Judge Billings, and you know that. And that was owned by Jim Wright, and we got him on the committee.
Yeah, and we're not talking about.
I know, but the point is years ago, and I'm glad you sent me all of the, you know, the 1984, you saw how much work went into that. That was a year's work that we put in. And the intent, Judge Billings and a few others, especially Lawrence Rockefeller's attorney, who I met with many times, Mr. Debevoise, was to come up with an off-street parking for employees. That was the intent for a long time. And finally, Jim Wright sold it to the municipality. And as soon as we thought that was a win after a year, but as soon as the municipality got it, they metered it. The intention was to be employee parking lot, work something out for the employees back there. It just never happened. It just, you know, and then 25 years later, we finally got them convinced to at least have 1/3 of that property employee lot. That was hard to do, many, many, many years. And we finally did it. And yes, it's $560 a year. I bought 4 of them for because they can't keep running out feeding meters all day. I don't want them at meters in the first place. So that's about $2,200 or $2,300. Originally, what I'm here for is Jeff told me at one point in time that I was going to go to like some outrageous figure that I couldn't even understand, like $6,200 a year for 4 people places. So my point is that we've always had the concern on these parking committees. I've been on a few of them. What do you do about the employees? So at some point, you really have to look at Wall Street parking somewhere. I mean, really, if you were able to get, first of all, they're the lifeblood of the whole town, and they make not huge amounts of money, and we're going to hit them with chasing them to other places to park. It's very, very much for them. I know my people come in, and the only way I solved it was to buy 4 spots, and I even need another one now, but I don't. It's not good. So my point is that I'm glad that what Jeff just said about
that was a hard fought fight to get that employee, even though we have to pay so much a year. That's not so bad. I talked to,
I want to make sure we've got a couple here.
okay. Originally it was $400 a year for a spot. Now it's $560. I understand that. But I just don't understand raising it that much on employees. I mean, we haven't been able to solve this employee parking problem for years. And this committee, the parking committee, I'd like to see a survey. How many employees are there in Woodstock that need parking? We did that years ago. There was no survey that I could hear.
Okay.
I mentioned it to Brenda one time and we talked about that. We didn't know. We didn't know. So I mean, how can you really plan parking if you don't even know any employees you have?
Thank you.
Okay,
Somebody, who is Paris?
Jeff, I want to thank you for this.
Oh, was Kara first?
Oh, Paris is first.
Okay, Paris.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Roger.
Good night, Roger.
Thank you.
Paris?
Don't think about it.
But think about me, please.
We will.
Paris, are you available?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you tell us your name and where you live, please?
Yeah, my name is Paris Hughes. I actually have the unique position that I work in 121 home and I live right above it.
Okay.
And I'm just kind of piggybacking off of what Nick says is that I don't have any opposition to, changing parking meters, but I do think that it just feels like we're making a lot of like quick decisions without information. I know one other resident who also works and lives right next door to us, and she does park on Route 4 constantly because her landlord can't afford to pay for parking. And she's been on the waiting list for the parking in Mechanic Street for the permitted, I think, for months and months and months. And she's lived here for almost a year now. And I just think that it doesn't feel welcoming to me anymore. Like I don't understand why tourism is our number one when we live and work here. I feel like I'm treated like a criminal when I'm just trying to find a place to park half the time. Like we get yelled at, we get tickets. It seems like no one really wants to hear what we have to say. And it's not making me want to stay here long term, if I'm being honest. Like it's just not a great feeling that my employees who work underneath me, who maybe have some hard times walking and don't have a handicap sticker, and I'm not going to go make them get one. They can't park all the way down on Pleasant Street. And when we're busy, I can't have them driving around for 2 hours looking for a spot in the middle of the workday because it's a busy season. And I can't ask them to get here multiple hours ahead of their shift to do that. I just think that whether or not you decide to change all of the metered parking, we just really need to come up with a solution for residents and for employees, because there's definitely a bigger problem there.
Thank you, Paris. Is there anybody else in the room? I just want to go back and forth. John, did you have a comment about parking?
Oh, hi, I'm John Curtis, and I own 45 Pleasant Street as well as 15 Central. And I guess you guys have gotten a few emails from me regarding my particular, just a few, but my particular situation. And I've had multiple discussions with Jeffrey as well, because he is one of the people that parks behind the building that I own. And I guess that has been a legacy around Jeffrey for the last 40 years. 46 years. That space was granted to you by the town manager 46 years ago as a free space to park. What I would love, though, as a taxpayer who pays a lot of taxes on that building and someone who wants to develop it, I would love to see a situation where I, as building owner, would be able to rent a place, a parking spot for myself, to make the development of that building viable, to offer that space up to tenants, or if I develop the second and third floor, which I want to do as a loft, to be able to have a spot there that I could offer to a renter to make it viable. Right now, that is a sectioned off piece of land that isn't big enough for 2 cars. It's not legally
wide enough to have 2 cars in there. But yet, there has been, it changed very recently, but there has been oftentimes up to 4 vehicles in there when there isn't even room for 2. And the way they've gotten 4 vehicles in there between Jeffrey and Nick Farrow is to double park, have one of them cross my property line, one directly behind it, and Mr. Farrow's car on the other side all the way up to Jeffrey's back door and one of his employees behind him. Right now, there's been an agreement where there's just 2 vehicles. Mr. Farrow is still parking all the way up as far as he can go, where the front fender of his vehicle crosses my parking lines, my property line still. The reason he has to do that is because in order for him to get his front door open, because it's so close to his building and where his stairs are, he has to pull all the way up. And that is right where my staircase that has been approved by the Development Review Board is going to be. So for people, if I eventually get to that and get that staircase in, people are going to have to literally scooch around Nick's vehicle to get up the steps. And then, of course, the whole question comes in, you know, there's been different stories about how that parking came about in his case, whether he claims he owns the land. I've heard from Jeffrey over here that was, I think you said he lucked into it. But somehow or other, he got to park there. I understand he has a lawsuit coming up against the town. That's what I've heard, that he owns that parking spot and he is going to fight for it. I would just, as I said, as somebody who owns a building, who pays taxes on it, who wants to develop it, I feel I have as much right as people who don't own that building to have a spot there or a seat at the table, so to speak. So that's where I am with this. And you know, I know there's been a lot of back and forth. I've explored different options. Chief Green had mentioned, you know, if you put a handicapped entrance in the back of that building, then because of that, you're going to have to clear out some of the vehicles in order to get access for wheelchairs through. That, of course, would inconvenience Jeffrey. I don't want to do that. That would be the nuclear option. It would inconvenience you greatly because you'd have to reconfigure your store. But that may be a way of doing it. But really, when you look at the actual physical space there is room legally for one vehicle. If somebody were code to putting parking spaces per code, they would not be able to draw a line and have 2 spaces wide enough for 2 vehicles. So really, behind that building, there's room for 1 space and a walkway. And that's what it should be. That walkway would create great access for the current tenants, for any future tenants. If I wanted to, if any of the tenants decide to leave, I needed new tenants, it would be an attractive option for me to say, you know what, you're not going to have vehicles blocking your access to get into your stores. Same thing if I develop the upstairs. So I would appeal to the trustees when they're looking at this whole parking situation to take all of that into consideration. And perhaps, I know that there's this conflict between, is it more important for customers to park there, or is it more important for business owners to have a place in order to effectively conduct business? That seems to be the debate. Obviously, I think business owners, or building owners at least, should have a dedicated spot each. It's 5 of us back there. We should have a spot each. And I think most of us would be willing to pay the town for it as well. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Tara, you like to make a comment?
I would. Hi, everyone. I'll make this really quick. First of all, thank you very much. I feel like making the right decision for my business. I can't thank you all enough for that. I also just wanted to tell you, I had a member of the EDC call me the other day, and it seems like there's two very different things going on between the village trustees and what so the EDC does have some type of a parking committee going on, and they're talking about redeveloping Mechanic Street. They're talking about trying to work something out with the Historical Society for more employee parking. They're trying to do all of these different things. And I just found it kind of ironic that they called me this week trying to get my opinion on it. And I said, you know, I really can't get into it right now. There's just so much going on. But I honestly, I would urge everybody to like try to come together, because I think everybody has great ideas. And I think with two different committees within the town working for the same goal, but not knowing what the other ones are doing 100%, you know, just seems a little detrimental. That's all. And I think everybody has the same thing in mind, that we want parking for employees. We want parking for, you know, people that are paying taxes on these buildings. We want the tourists to have parking. We want the residents to have parking. And I think that there's a way to go about it. And I hope that we can all work together to try to solve it.
Thank you. Kara, I just want to let you know that the reason I joined the parking committee of the EDC is exactly what you said, so that they know what we are thinking about, what the current rules are, and also I can report back to this board anything coming from there that might be a good idea for us to think about.
Perfect. They had some ideas.
So what you said makes sense. But
Perfect.
Tonight, I would like, it's 9 o'clock, I would like us, these two items to vote on. And I will repeat, I will make a motion for these two.
Okay, I just make sure there's no, Karen, you had your hand up. Is that just old?
I think that's all.
Okay. Is there any other public comment? Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so I would move that we change the time for the metered spaces from, which is currently 10 to 4 to 10 to 5. And that we would change the time limits on all parking meters that are on poles on Elm Street and Route 4, both east and west on Route 4, to a 4-hour time. And also change parking resolution number 2 to read 15 minutes consistently post office. So that's my motion.
Actually, one more thing, just to be clear, is Sundays are still free.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But that's not a change.
Right. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, that's okay. That's okay.
So second.
I second.
Waiting.
You don't have to wait for nothing.
There's been a motion.
Oh, I,
I'm sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I'm gonna abstain. Frank, what's your vote?
Have a nay.
Okay, so motion passes. Thank you very much. And thank you guys for all your work you put into these things. Yeah, that, comment.
I just want to make sure that you haven't done away with the 12 free days that there are.
No, we didn't.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Didn't
And unfortunately, we can't cover the meters anymore because of whatever, the sun.
Solar.
And
All right,
Eric,
a minute.
make sure we're correctly, so you'll take this, does this need to go by a lawyer or?
I'll run it by just to make sure, yeah, because.
Okay, but otherwise.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're not gonna do like a second vote.
I hope not, but I'll double check, yeah. I wasn't prepared for a vote tonight, so I didn't
Okay,
dig deep into the resolution, but I'll confirm.
just have to get on that plane later.
right.
do it when you get back.
Next item on the agenda is choose a date for the special village meeting. We talked about this earlier, that there has been a petition that's been verified by the town clerk with 5% of the signatures, 5% of village voters signing. That is asking for a public vote on the ordinance that we passed about the green and the gore, in March. Excuse me. And so we are required by the state to, within 60 days, set a date for that, and then it has to be within.
Yep, so the vote has to happen by June 22nd. That is a Saturday. So we probably really want to say June 21st. The earliest we can do it will be June 7th, which would be 30 days from today. But the trustees do have to sign the warning and then post the warning. So in reality, it's probably gonna be a few days out of that. So if there was a special meeting tomorrow and you signed the warning and was posted tomorrow, you could hold the meeting on June 8th. So just because of the timeline, even with me on vacation, you might have to hold a special meeting with maybe Chief Green present to get this done in time.
Okay. So we have to warn the meeting to warn the meeting?
To sign the warning
Okay.
and a public meeting.
Okay.
And Nikki has the warning all set, I believe. We just want to confirm the date that will be.
Can't we vote tonight, right now, for the date?
You can pick the date, but you can't sign the warning.
Oh, we can't sign
Yeah.
But we can sign the warning when you're.
it. In your absence, you
Yeah.
can still sign the warning.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, but a meeting to sign the warning.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's the normal, like,
Yeah.
48 hours.
It's a special meeting, so you do 24 hours.
Okay, so we
Yeah.
can do that. Okay. Okay, so. And this has to be this has to be
In person with the floor votes.
in person with the floor vote. Okay, so this can't be an Australian ballot.
No, because all the village business is done on the floor. Besides
So I have to be here?
the village needs a quorum to open the meeting.
And that's four?
The trustees need a quorum, so if you can't be here, as long as there's 3 of us here, that's fine.
It depends on when the vacation. That's,
Um,
Do you know your vacation date?
yeah, I can move them around. I just
so the
need to
earliest
know.
we can possibly do it is 7, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's if, but you can't do that, because that's like signing the warning today, which we can't do.
Okay, we can't do, so really it's the 10th. I mean, we could have it on a weekend. We could have it on the,
Weekend's hard for
so it
me.
has to be, okay.
Something about.
I mean, you could do it,
I mean, we have a regular trustee meeting on June 11th.
you could do it at 5 PM on June 11th.
What do you guys think about just doing it before our June meeting? So that it's all on the same day?
I
Fine
like
by
that.
me.
The only
Yeah.
issue is you're giving yourself a time limit, so you would have cut off public comment if it's a lot of people here.
That might not be a bad idea.
Let's do that.
So June 11th at 5 o'clock?
An hour and a half for discussion.
Yeah.
Be plenty.
Yeah.
What time, 5, did you say?
Yeah. John, did you have a comment
One more question, sorry,
about this topic?
not on this topic.
Okay, well, let's save that then, because we're talking,
Okay, but can I ask it when you're done on this topic?
what does it have to do with?
I just want to know a timetable, like what the timetable is on resolving the parking issue.
We don't have a timetable
No time to,
right now.
it's ongoing.
It's ongoing. So we
I'm not sure I understand what that.
we don't know when we're gonna vote on anything else for parking. So we don't have a timetable right now. We'll continue to work on it, but we don't have a timetable. Sounds like we need to get up with the EDC. So June 11th at 5 o'clock. Frank, does that work for you?
Day of the week.
It's a Tuesday. It's our normal.
Oh, yeah, that's our normal thing.
Oh,
yeah.
June
Yes,
11th.
yes.
Okay,
Got it.
that works for you, Brenda?
Mhm.
Lisa?
Yep.
Jeffrey?
Yes.
Good night.
Aaron?
Yeah,
Okay,
so you
Better
probably,
find you.
Not first thing tomorrow.
I'm not gonna be done.
so that means when.
if you're doing it by June 11th, I think you have to sign it by the 13th. So you probably actually want to hold a special meeting maybe this Friday to give you time.
It's Friday morning,
Yeah.
how about at 8:30 this Friday morning?
Wait, what's Friday?
We have to sign the warning at a public meeting,
Okay.
8:30 on Friday morning.
Yeah, as long as we're done by 10 minutes to 9.
I mean, we just have to sign the warning, right? We don't have to do anything else.
Fine.
I think Simon, I'm about to vote on it too, but I think,
Okay.
yeah.
Should be able to do that.
Okay.
So 8:30. Frank, can you do 8:30 on Friday morning?
Which, this Friday?
Yeah, for a special meeting, just to sign the warning. That's all.
Sure.
The 10th.
Yes.
8:30 you said?
Yeah. Can Chief Green do that?
I'm emailing them now.
Okay.
Okay,
Can you do that, Lisa?
As long as there's not a fire.
Yeah, right?
I just added it. Can't find
If
it.
there's a fire, forget it.
June. Oh, not June,
All right, minutes.
May.
Executive
Oh, we have
session.
to do we have to decide if we're gonna do a letter for the farmer in the bell. and
Yep,
then-
so there's two things. One, so you can read this off. The Board of Village Trustees for the Village of Woodstock authorized me and Department of Plan and Zoning to apply to renew Woodstock's Village Center designation. So here's the verbiage, if you want to make that motion, and
Do you wanna make the motion, Brenda?
Oh, go ahead.
Okay.
I'm sleepwalking at this point.
Okay. We just did the 10th at 8:30. Okay. So I will make a motion that the Board of Village Trustees for the Village of Woodstock authorize the municipal manager and Department of Planning and Zoning to apply to renew Woodstock's Village Center designation.
I second.
There's
Oh,
second?
sorry, second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Then one other thing before executive session is Farmer and the Bell. You want to write a letter saying,
it'll be very simple that the trustees view, East End Park as public parking,
okay,
Yes.
and that was the original intent of it.
Yeah.
But, they'll need it by tomorrow afternoon.
okay, so can I write that tomorrow morning?
Yeah, and then you send it to Stephen Bauer.
Okay. And what's the signature, or can I just sign it on behalf of the trustees?
If they give you the power tonight, yeah.
Okay, do you guys authorize me to sign a letter?
Yes.
Yes.
Frank?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Is that, okay, what am I doing? Okay, now we're gonna go into executive session.
Yes.
Should we
We
just
have
close
like
the doors?
nobody, yeah,
Nobody's
yeah,
here?
The people online will do a breakout room for,
Okay.
Oh, can we just stay?
yes.
Ah, thank you.
Unless it's cooler somewhere else.
There's no.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for the granola bar.
Oh, yeah.
It took the edge off.
I just want to say,
Well, it's coffee, but I wish it was wine.
Probably air. Yeah.
I'm like
Waiting all day.
second glass.
also, you want a banana?
No.
I
I
could
need
have
something when I get home.
Italian snacking things.
This is like,
With this. This is a walking tamale. Tamale, but
is
it's.
everything turned off?
Good. That's the breakout room.
You ever had a tamale?
No,
Like,
I don't
normally-
think so. What is
Normally
it? Tamale?
tamales are, we're not, and so it's just like Okay, now we're out of executive session. Our last item on the agenda is minutes for April 9th, April 17th, and April 24th. Jeffrey,
I scoured all three of them. I found no error whatsoever.
yay, so Nick,
Look hard, Nick.
we know you do.
So,
Numbers and minutes,
so
man.
thank you for doing such a good job, Nikki. And so I move that we accept the minutes as presented for all three dates as.
Is there a second? Second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Wait, one more thing, I forgot, on the notes. We have an offer out and it's gonna be accepted for the new position to be in that office to be doing minutes and other stuff that got funded in the last budget cycle. So starting July 1, it'll no longer be Nikki doing minutes, it'll be someone else. So we're excited for that, but I just wanna, that spurred my memory.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Nikki, you went out with.
There you go. I make a motion, we'll sit down. I make a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Eric, have a great
Thank you.
vacation.
Have a great
Have a
vacation.
Have a great vacation, Eric. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
Eric, where are you going?
Go